The sun had barely risen over the quiet village when 10-year-old Arjun opened his eyes inside a tiny mud hut with a broken roof. Cold air slipped through the cracks, and the sound of birds mixed with the empty rumble of his stomach. Every morning began the same way. He helped his mother fetch water from the old village well, collected dry firewood from nearby fields, and searched for small jobs that could earn enough money for a single meal. While other children carried school bags filled with books and dreams, Arjun carried heavy bundles of wood on his thin shoulders. The villagers often looked at him with pity, but many whispered, "A poor boy like him can never become anything." Hearing those words again and again, Arjun slowly accepted them as the truth. Deep inside, he believed that his future had already been decided by the poverty he was born into. One evening, after another tiring day, Arjun quietly walked toward the peaceful forest outside the village. The orange sunset painted the sky, yet his heart felt darker than the coming night. He sat beneath an ancient banyan tree and stared at the distant mountains. "Why was I born like this?" he asked himself. "Maybe some people are meant to dream, and some are only meant to survive." As tears rolled down his face, a calm voice suddenly spoke from behind him. "The size of your dream is never decided by the size of your house." Arjun quickly turned around. Standing there was an old man dressed in simple white robes, carrying a wooden staff. His eyes were gentle, but they shined with unusual wisdom. The mysterious stranger smiled and slowly walked closer. Arjun had never seen him before, yet for the first time in many years, he felt a tiny spark of hope beginning to awaken inside his heart. Arjun looked at the old man with curious eyes. "Who are you?" he asked softly. The old man smiled and sat beside him under the banyan tree. "People call me Guru Anand," he replied. "I have traveled through many villages, and I have learned one truth. Your life is shaped by the size of your thinking, not by the size of your pocket." Arjun lowered his head. "But everyone says I will always be poor. Even I believe it." The guru gently picked up a tiny seed from the ground and placed it in Arjun's hand. "Look at this seed," he said. "Does it look like a giant tree?" Arjun shook his head. Yet inside this tiny seed lives a tree strong enough to give shade to hundreds. Greatness always begins small, but it grows because it believes in what it can become. Those words echoed in Arjun's mind. From that day on, he returned to the forest every evening to learn from Guru Anand. The guru never gave him money or magical powers. Instead, he taught him to ask bigger questions, dream beyond his village, and believe that his thoughts could become his future. Arjun began reading old books that the guru collected, practiced writing every day, observed successful people, and promised himself never to let fear control his decisions. The villagers laughed whenever they saw him studying under a tree after finishing his hard work. Dreams don't fill empty stomachs, they mocked. But this time, Arjun did not argue. He simply smiled and continued learning. Every insult became fuel for his determination. Every failure became another lesson. Slowly, the boy who once believed he had no future started seeing endless possibilities. His clothes were still old, his home was still poor, but his mind had become richer than ever before. And without realizing it, Arjun had already taken the first step toward changing not only his own destiny, but the destiny of everyone who would one day hear his story. Every single day, Arjun returned to the ancient banyan tree before sunrise. He carried the old book close to his heart, practiced every lesson Guru Anand had taught him, and carefully watered the tiny seed he had planted. Days passed, then weeks. The seed slowly broke through the soil and became a small green plant. Every time Arjun looked at it, he remembered Guru Anand's words. Great things always begin small, but only those who think big have the patience to help them grow. Although Arjun was still only a 10-year-old boy, something inside him had completely changed. His clothes were still old and patched. He still lived in the same small mud hut. He was still the poorest child in the village. But now he walked with confidence instead of fear. He smiled instead of complaining. He spent his time learning instead of worrying. The villagers slowly began to notice the difference. The same people who had once laughed at him now watched him with curiosity. Every morning they saw him reading beneath the banyan tree. Every evening they saw him taking care of the little plant with hope and determination. Even the younger children started sitting beside him, listening as he shared the lessons he had learned from Guru Anand's book. Guru Anand quietly watched everything from a distance. He knew Arjun no longer needed someone to tell him how to think. The boy had already discovered the greatest lesson of all, that a person's future is decided by the size of their dreams, not by the size of their problems. One peaceful morning, Guru Anand gently placed his hand on Arjun's shoulder and smiled with pride. He looked at the small growing tree and then at Arjun. "This tree is still young," he said softly, "just like you. But one day it will give shade to many people. In the same way, your big thoughts will one day inspire many lives." Arjun looked toward the golden sunrise, holding the old book close to his heart. A calm smile appeared on his face. For the first time in his life, he was no longer afraid of tomorrow. He understood that success doesn't begin when you become rich. Success begins the moment your thinking becomes bigger than your fear. As the sun rose over the village, the banyan tree stood tall. The little plant continued to grow, and the villagers watched the young boy with respect instead of doubt. Nothing magical had happened overnight. The village was the same. The house was the same. Arjun was still the same 10-year-old boy, but his mindset had become limitless. Always remember, your life changes the moment your thinking changes. Think big, dream big, believe big, achieve big.